I still remember the moment the signal appeared on the screen. At first, it looked like nothing. Just another distortion in the magnetic survey data. But the longer I stared at it, the more impossible it became to ignore. Beneath the ancient Mesopotamian sands, hidden for thousands of years, was a structure no one had ever documented. And in 2003, I was part of the team that helped reveal what many believe could be the lost tomb of Gilgamesh. Yes, that Gilgamesh, the legendary king of Uruk, the hero of the oldest written epic in human history. But what we found wasn't legend. It was real. And it began with magnetics. I had been working with an archaeological survey group, studying the ruins of ancient Uruk, in modern-day Iraq. Uruk wasn't just any site, it was one of the first true cities on Earth, dating back over 5,000 years. Civilization itself took shape right here. We weren't excavating yet. Instead, we were using known invasive technology, specifically magnetometry, to scan beneath the surface without disturbing the ground. Magnetics works by detecting tiny variations in Earth's magnetic field. Buried walls, chambers, bricks, and voids all leave their own magnetic fingerprints. Think of it like an X-ray for the Earth. Most scans reveal predictable things: foundations, roads, storage pits. But this anomaly was different. It was large, symmetrical, and deeply buried near what ancient texts described as the sacred district of Uruk. And that's when the speculation began. One night in camp, I reread passages from the Epic of Gilgamesh, ancient Sumerian poem etched onto clay tablets. In it, Gilgamesh III's god, one-third man, rules Uruk, builds its massive walls, and ultimately dies after his great quest for immortality fails. But one passage stood out. It described his burial. According to later Babylonian versions, Gilgamesh was buried beneath the Euphrates River after its waters were diverted, entombed in a sealed chamber filled with treasures. For centuries, historians debated whether this was myth or memory. Now, staring at the magnetic scans, I felt chills. Because the anomaly we detected sat right along an ancient, dried course of the Euphrates. Exactly where such a tomb might exist. I remember the day we ran the high-resolution survey. The desert air was still. Our instruments moved slowly across the grid. When the processed data came in, we gathered around the monitor in silence. There it was, a massive, rectangular enclosure. Inner partitions. And what looked like a central chamber. This wasn't natural. It wasn't random ruins. It was deliberate architecture, monumental in scale. One of our geophysicists whispered, "This could be royal." Another said nothing, just zoomed in. That's when we noticed the surrounding features: possible walls, courtyards, and water channels. It aligned disturbingly well with textual descriptions of a funerary complex. No one said Gilgamesh out loud, but we were all thinking it. Standing on that ground felt different after that. You have to understand, Gilgamesh isn't just a king. He's humanity's first recorded hero. His story predates Homer, predates the Bible, predates most written history. He fought monsters, defied gods, and searched for eternal life after the death of his companion Enkidu. If this structure was truly his tomb, we weren't just finding a burial site. We were standing over the resting place of the world's first legendary ruler. The line between myth and history was dissolving right beneath our feet. But here's the part most people don't realize. We never fully excavated it. Political instability in Iraq after 2003 made large-scale digs impossible. Archaeological work halted, sites were left vulnerable. Our discovery remained primarily geophysical, proven by scans, not by opened chambers. It's frustrating, but also haunting, because it means the structure and whatever lies inside remains sealed, untouched, waiting. In quiet moments, I'd imagine what rested beneath that magnetic outline. Royal artifacts, weapons, inscribed tablets telling Gilgamesh's true history. Or perhaps something more symbolic, cofferings, chariots, or relics meant to guide a king into the afterlife. Ancient Mesopotamian burials were elaborate, especially for rulers. If the epic held any truth, the tomb might even contain water engineering features tied to the river diversion myth. A king buried beneath a redirected Euphrates. It sounds impossible. But ancient civilizations achieved engineering feats we still struggle to explain. Of course, not everyone agreed with our interpretation. Some scholars argued the structure could belong to another ruler, or be a temple complex instead of a tomb. Magnetics reveals shapes, not identities. Without excavation, certainty remains out of reach. And they're right, scientifically. But archaeology often begins with patterns, and this pattern was compelling. The location, scale, orientation, and proximity to ancient riverbeds all aligned with royal burial traditions. Whether it was Gilgamesh or not, it was undeniably significant. One evening, just before sunset, I walked alone across the survey grid. The desert wind had smoothed our footprints. I stopped directly above the central chamber anomaly, and I remember thinking, for 4,000 years, stories of this king survived copied by scribes, buried in libraries, rediscovered on broken tablets. Empires rose and fell. Languages vanished, yet his name endured. Gilgamesh. And now, possibly, I was standing above the man behind the myth. Not the epic hero, not the demigod, but the human king who inspired it all. People often ask why discoveries like this matter. Why chase tombs? Why dig up the past? But this wasn't about treasure. It was about our origins. Gilgamesh's story contains humanity's earliest recorded fears: death, loss, and the search for meaning. His failed quest for immortality mirrors our own modern anxieties. If his tomb is truly beneath Uruk, it represents the moment legend became literature, and literature became civilization's memory. To this day, the structure remains largely unexcavated. Satellite imaging, ground surveys, and magnetics continue to hint at its existence. But the chamber itself? Still sealed. Still silent. War, time, and politics have kept it hidden longer than sand ever did. And maybe that's fitting. Because Gilgamesh's story was never about conquering death. It was about being remembered. Sometimes I think back to that first magnetic scan. A faint anomaly. A shadow beneath the earth. Proof that even the oldest legends can leave physical echoes. We didn't open the tomb. We didn't hold its artifacts. But we proved something powerful. Myths don't come from nowhere. They come from people, places, rulers, and lives once lived. And somewhere beneath the ruins of Uruk, the king who sought immortality may still lie waiting, not immortal in body, but immortal in story. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by the intersection of history and technology, be sure to subscribe for more stories from the field. See you next time.